Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting hands-on, digitally speaking. We're diving into Logic Pro for iPad. It's this creative powerhouse that fits right in your hand. Our mission today, cut through all the features, find the shortcuts. How can these tools really take your musical ideas and turn them into, well, finished tracks quickly?
Exactly. And this deep dive isn't just about what the app does. It's more about the why, how it empowers, both seasoned producers and folks just starting out. It's got depth, sure, but also some really intuitive ways to work, no matter your experience. We're going to pull out the key bits, the stuff that really makes you go, aha.
And there's a lot to cover, right? I mean, the guide mentions everything from composing and sound design all the way to mixing and mastering. It seems designed to spark those aha moments, like you said.
Definitely. It's a full studio, essentially, just incredibly accessible.
Okay, let's unpack that. So you've got an idea, maybe just a spark, or you're trying to build out a whole song. How does Logic Pro on the iPad help you get those first musical blocks in place without getting, bogged down?
Right. Well, it's really about making things fluid and adding some smarts. One of the big things is how the live loops grid and the main tracks area work together. They're not separate worlds. They actually use the exact same tracks.
Oh, really? So you can kind of jump between them.
Yeah, exactly. You can be jamming non-linearly in live loops, triggering clips and ideas, and then seamlessly slide over to the tracks view to arrange it all into a traditional song structure.
Yeah.
No need to bounce audio or convert files. It's just there. Super flexible.
That is powerful. So you can experiment freely, then just drag those experiments into a song. But how does live loops keep it all together when you're triggering stuff on the fly? Does it sound messy?
Good question. That's where quantize start comes in. Live loops uses these cells, bits of audio or MIDI and scenes, which are rows of cells. Quantize start basically ensures that whenever you trigger a cell, it waits for the next beat or whatever musical division you set. So everything always starts perfectly in time, keeps it sounding tight.
Okay, that makes sense, like auto-syncing your ideas.
Right. And there's also a smart pickup, which is even maybe a bit cleverer. If you happen to trigger a cell just a fraction late, maybe your timing is slightly off, smart pickup sort of nudges it so it instantly plays back from the correct position within the cell as if you had triggered it perfectly. It helps make your live arrangements sound really polished even if your finger slips.
Okay, that avoids those awkward misstarts.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, you mentioned intelligent collaborators earlier. That caught my ear. Sounds amazing, especially if you don't play every instrument, Tell me about these session players. Are they just like fancy loop players, or is there something more going on?
Oh, they're way more than loop players. Think of them, the keyboard player, bass player, drummer, as virtual bandmates with musical intelligence. They don't just repeat patterns, they actually respond to the harmony and rhythm of your song. So the keyboard player might create these really authentic piano voicings or harmonies that actually fit your chords, or the bass player can lay down a classic funk groove that feels, genuinely tight and musical.
Wow. So it's like having session musicians on call who actually understand the genre.
Kind of, yeah. They draw on a huge library of performances and styles. You can guide them using region chords, basically telling them exactly what chords to play within a specific section. Or you can set them to follow the global chord track so they adapt to the overall harmony of your project.
Okay, so you have control. It's not just random.
Definitely not random. You have a lot of control. You can go in and edit their performance. For the keyboard player, you might choose between simple or complex rhythmic variations. For the bass player, you can even dial in things like pickup hits, those little percussive taps on the strings to make it sound even more real.
It's really detailed. It sounds like you can get pretty nuanced performances. But what if you want to build something totally from scratch, like a complex beat or a synth line?
Then you'd likely turn to the step sequencer. It's fantastic for crafting intricate patterns, especially with Drum Machine Designer. It gives you that classic step input workflow, but with some really creative twists. There's a mono mode, for example, which is great for bass lines or leads, ensuring only one note plays per step.
Keeps things clean.
Right. And then you get things like the chance parameter. This lets you set the probability that any given step will actually play each time the pattern repeats. So you can introduce these cool, evolving variations that never sound exactly the same twice.
Oh, that adds a nice element of unpredictability.
Yeah, it's great for adding life. And there's also a skip parameter, which lets you basically tell a step to be ignored, effectively shortening the pattern on the fly for certain rows. Creates really interesting rhythmic shifts.
So taken together, these tools, live loops, session players, step sequencer, they really let you get sophisticated ideas down fast. Whether you're sketching or building a full track, less wrestling, more creating.
That's the core idea, fluidity and intelligent support.
All right, so we've got our musical foundation laid down. The ideas are there, but often those raw sounds need something more. How do we sculpt them, give them character, make them stand out? What tools does Logic Pro for iPad offer for that kind of sonic transformation?
Yeah, this is where it is really interesting, moving beyond just basic EQ and compression. First off, something pretty mind-blowing, stem splitter. Think about this. You have a mixed audio file, maybe a full song, maybe just a stereo loop. Stem Splitter uses AI to analyze it and lets you extract the different parts like vocals, drums, bass, other instruments into separate tracks.
Wait, seriously? From a finished mix?
Seriously, you can take a stereo file you don't have the original tracks for and just pull out the drums or the vocals.
Yeah.
It's incredible for remixing, sampling, or maybe just fixing one element in an old recording.
That sounds like magic. Is there a catch? Does it work on any iPad?
There is a small catch. It needs significant processing power, so it requires an iPad with an M1 chip or later. But on those devices, it works remarkably well. It really opens up creative possibilities that just weren't feasible before on mobile.
Okay, good to know about the M1 requirement. That's a huge feature, though. Wow. Beyond that kind of surgical work, what about adding warmth or color? Analog vibes.
For that, you've got ChromaGlow. This is a saturation plugin specifically designed to emulate the sound of analog gear. It's not just distortion, it adds harmonic richness, subtle compression, that kind of glue you get from tubes or transformers. It helps smooth out dynamics and just gives tracks a polished, warmer feel.
So it's about adding that expensive sound, almost.
You could say that, yeah. It has different models too, like retro tube for that classic, slightly gritty warmth, or modern tube styles if you want something cleaner, more transparent, but still with that analog character.
Nice. Okay, what else for shaping the overall tone?
Well, there's a really advanced tool called Match EQ. This is fascinating. It lets you analyze the frequency spectrum of one audio file, say, a reference track you really love the sound of, and then it captures that sonic fingerprint.
A sonic fingerprint?
Yeah, basically the overall tonal balance. And then you can apply that fingerprint to your track, so you can make your song tonally resemble the reference track.
Okay, hold on. You're saying I can take the EQ curve from, like, a professionally mastered hit song and apply it to my mix?
Essentially, yes. It analyzes the average spectrum and helps you shape your track to match it. It's amazing for getting a consistent sound across an album or just trying to achieve a specific sonic character you admire. It's like having a shortcut to a desired tonal quality.
That feels incredibly powerful, almost like cheating, but I guess it's just smart production.
Exactly. It's a tool to help you learn and achieve results faster.
Are there tools for more, like real-time effects manipulation, performance stuff?
Definitely. Remix FX is a great example. It's a multi-effect unit you can play like an instrument. It's got this XY pad where you can control multiple effects at once just by moving your finger. Think filter sweeps combined with reverb changes, or maybe adding effects like tape stop or bit crusher dynamically. Really fun for adding movement and excitement, especially in a live context or during recording.
So these tools, Stem Splitter, ChromaGlow, Match EQ, Remix FX, they really let you go deep into sound design. It's not just recording notes anymore. It's about crafting the actual sound. That kind of pro-level control right on the iPad. Pretty amazing for creating unique soundscapes.
Absolutely. It puts serious sonic sculpting power right at your fingertips.
So we talked about composing and arranging and then sculpting the sounds. What about the instruments themselves? Are there any really standout expressive synths or samplers inside Logic Pro for iPad?
Oh, definitely. Beyond the standard fare, there are some real gems for sound design and unique expression. Let's start with sample alchemy. This thing is wild. You feed it a single audio sample, could be anything, a voice, a field recording, a drum hit. And it uses techniques like granular, additive, and spectral synthesis to transform that sample into a fully playable instrument.
So it's not just playing the sample back, it's taking it apart and rebuilding it.
Exactly. It analyzes the sound and lets you manipulate its core components. You get these ABCD source handles on the waveform display, letting you interact with different layers or aspects of the sound. And you have controls that do really interesting things, like the pitch var knob.
Pitch var, what does that vary?
Well, it can affect the tuning of all the individual harmonic components, the partials within the sound. You could take something inharmonic, like a metal clang, and tune its partials to make it sound perfectly harmonic, like a bell. Or you could do the opposite, take a clean sound and make it wildly detuned and complex. There are also formant shift and size knobs, which mess with vowel-like resonances, giving sounds of vocal quality.
Wow, that sounds like a deep dive just on its own. So much potential from one sample. What about synths that aren't based on samples? More traditional synthesis?
Well, there's Sculpture, which is definitely not traditional in its approach. It's what's called a component modeling synthesizer. Instead of oscillators and filters in the usual sense,
Yeah.
it simulates the physics of vibrating objects. Think strings, bars, membranes.
So like building a virtual instrument.
Pretty much. You can define the material like steel, nylon, wood, even glass, and things like stiffness or where the string is plucked or bowed. This leads to incredibly organic, complex sounds, often with that inharmonic vibration that makes real instruments sound rich. You get sounds that feel alive.
That sounds fascinating. Does it allow for evolving sounds too?
Yes, a key feature is its morph points. You can set up to 5 different states of the sound, different materials, stiffness, disturbances, etc. And then you can smoothly morph between these states using a controller or automation. Creates these beautiful, evolving textures that shift organically.
Incredible. So you've got sample alchemy for radical sample transformation and sculpture for physical modeling. What if you just want a killer vintage keyboard sound?
Then you have things like the vintage B3 organ. And this isn't just a basic organ sound. It meticulously emulates the Hammond B3 right down to the tone wheel generators. It even replicates the charming flaws, as the manual calls them.
Charming flaws? Like what?
Things like the crosstalk between tone whales, the little bit of key contact scratchiness, the stuff that makes a real B3 sound like a B3. There's even a random FM nib that simulates the slight irregularities in the rotation of old tone wheels, adding that subtle vintage instability.
So it captures the imperfections that give it character.
Exactly. And of course, you get the full Leslie rotor cabinet emulation. You can control the speed, the mic placement, get that classic swirling Doppler-y speaker sound. It's really authentic.
Okay, so whether you want to build something totally new with sample alchemy or sculpture, or nail a classic like the B3, the instrument palette seems really deep and inspiring. It's not just presets, it's sound creation.
Precisely. It offers tools for genuine sound design and faithful emulation all in one place.
Right, so we've composed, we've sculpted our sounds with amazing instruments and effects. Now, how do we bring it all home? Add those final dynamic touches, control everything precisely, and then, crucially, get it ready to share.
Yeah, the final steps. This is about control and polish. First up is automation. This is absolutely key for making a mix feel alive. It's how you create changes over time, volume swells, panning movements, filter sweeps. Pretty much any knob or slider in Logic Pro can be automated.
So instead of just setting a level and leaving it, you can make things ebb and flow throughout the track.
Exactly. It adds dynamics, focuses the listener's attention. You have track automation for changes affecting a whole track, and region automation if you just want to automate something within the specific clip or musical phrase. There's also a cool feature called stepped automation.
Stepped. How's that different from smooth changes?
Instead of a gradual ramp, it makes changes happen in distinct steps, often tied to rhythmic values. Think about panning that jumps hard left, then hard right, perfectly on the beat, or a filter opening or closing in rhythmic stages. It's great for creating precise rhythmic effects or gated sounds.
That sounds like a cool creative effect.
Yeah.
Now, what about controlling all this with hardware? Knobs and faders.
Absolutely. That's where Learn MIDI comes in. It makes connecting external MIDI controllers super easy. You just touch a control in Logic Pro on the screen, wiggle a knob, or move a fader on your connected controller, and Logic instantly creates an assignment, so you can get hands-on tactile control over your mix or instrument parameters.
Makes it feel more like a real studio console, even with the iPad at the center.
Nice. Okay, track done, automation's written, mix feels good. How do we export it properly?
You've got various export options naturally. You can choose standard file types like AIFF, WAV-E, or M4A for compressed audio, and importantly, you choose the bit depth, 16-bit, 24-bit, or 32-bit float. Right, 32-bit float. You mentioned that briefly with Stem Splitter needing M1, but for recording. What's the big deal about 32-bit float recording? Does it really save you if you mess up the levels?
It's actually a huge deal. Think of it as having massive headroom. If you accidentally record something way too loud, so it clips digitally in a standard 16 or 24-bit recording, that distortion is baked in, it's ruined. With 32-bit float recording, because the dynamic range is so vast that clipping isn't actually hard cutting in the file itself, you can literally just lower the gain of the audio region after recording, and the clipping disappears. The original clean signal is still there underneath.
Whoa. Seriously, so you can fix clipping after the fact.
Yes. Or boost a super quiet recording without raising the noise floor nearly as much. It basically makes gain staging during recording much less critical. You can focus more on the performance, knowing you have this incredible safety net. It can truly save takes.
That is a game changer, especially for product studios or recording on the go. Less stress about levels. Okay, one last step. Mastering. Is there anything built in to help get the track ready for release?
There is. There's a mastering assistant plugin. You put it on your main output and it analyzes your final mix. Then it applies intelligent processing, dynamic EQ, loudness maximization, stereo widening, things like that, to fine-tune the sound and bring it up to competitive loudness levels suitable for streaming services like Apple Music.
It gives your track that final professional polish and make sure it stacks up loudness-wise.
That's the goal. It's a quick way to get a solid master, especially if you're not a dedicated mastering engineer. Ensures your hard work sounds good everywhere.
Okay, so from the first idea, using live loops or session players, through sound design with Sample Alchemy or Chroma Glow, to expressive control with automation and MIDI learn, and finally polishing and exporting with 32-bit float and the mastering assistant. It really covers the whole journey, doesn't it?
It really does. It provides a remarkably complete path from spark to finished product, all within the iPad ecosystem.
So we've taken quite the deep dive today. Logic Pro for iPad. It's clearly more than just elite version. The tools for intelligent composition, the depth of the sound sculpting and instruments, the control and final polish. It's serious stuff.
Absolutely. It really demonstrates how powerful mobile devices have become for high-level creative work. It makes incredibly complex processes feel intuitive, which is fantastic for, sparking creativity.
Exactly. For something you can literally carry in a small bag,
Yeah.
the capability is just astounding. A full studio, really.
Which leads to a final thought, maybe a question for you, the listener. Knowing you have this kind of portable power, the ability to generate ideas, sculpt unique sounds, control everything, and polish it professionally, what kind of music, what kind of impossible sound that you maybe thought needed a huge studio, what will you create next now that the studio can go wherever you do?